Before I go any deeper into talking about soul healing, I want to talk about what the soul actually is. A spiritual perspective might say the soul is the eternal part of you, the essence of who you are beyond your personality, the part of you that existed before this lifetime and will exist after this lifetime, the deepest truth of yourself. Your soul is the part of you that is connected to the universe, to God, to the higher self, whatever you wish to call it. That is the soul. Your soul existed probably from the beginning of time and will exist to the end of time. We live many, many lifetimes, and energy never dies. It only changes form. We come into this body and we probably have had millions of different bodies. And we're working our way back to Source, to God, to be one with God again. Your soul isn't your job. It isn't the mistakes you made. It's not your trauma. It's not your fear. That's what this channel is about, healing those types of things. Those are all just experiences that we go through, and we go through them in every lifetime. The soul is an awareness. You, um, it's an awareness of what's going on lifetime after lifetime. Believe it or not, deep down in your soul, you remember every lifetime that you've ever had, every experience that you ever had, every trauma that you ever lived through. That is what this channel is about, healing that trauma and that fear, shame, grief, heartbreak. It's about healing all of those things. It's about overcoming self-doubt. Soul healing is the process of gently removing these things from your emotional body, layer after layer. And believe me, a lot of wounds go deep. They're usually from lifetimes. And each time you heal something, you go even deeper and deeper into the healing. Why do people need soul healing? Many people reach a point where they realize, I have everything I thought I wanted, but still something feels like it's missing. Or I don't recognize myself anymore. Or I feel lost. Others, this isn't a physical problem. It's not even necessarily an emotional problem. It's a spiritual longing, a sense that the outer life and inner life have become disconnected. People often begin seeking soul healing after a loss, a divorce, an illness, trauma, burnout, or a spiritual awakening. And believe me, spiritual awakenings are not fun. Everybody thinks a spiritual awakening is this wonderful thing, and no, it's not. When we become spiritually awake, we realize how messed up the world is. And it can be really traumatizing to us, and we can have this tendency to want to spend time alone and be alone to process and deal with what we have just gone through. And we need to heal from that. Soul healing is not pretending everything is positive. People really do, like, um, when you go in for soul healing, when you start having your spiritual waking, people have this misconception that it's going to be bright and beautiful and everything's going to be wonderful and it's all love and light. When you have a spiritual awakening, it's a difficult journey. You are actually beginning the soul healing process of a spiritual awakening. That's what a lot of people don't understand. They don't realize it's a lot of work, and a lot of people don't want to face their shadow selves. They just want to do spiritual bypassing, and you know, there's a lot of difficult emotions that people just don't like the process. We run away from them. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you're interested in soul healing, it means that your higher self, your spirit, your soul wants to be healed, and it's time for you to heal to whatever extent that may be. Sometimes it's really, really deep healing. Sometimes it's just a brushing away of the emotions, learning how to process the emotions and how to feel them and release them in ways that are not destructive. Because that's one of the things that this society doesn't really teach us anymore. What at one point it did. When we feel negative emotions, we need to have good ways to release them. Everyone has negative emotions. They feel shame, they feel guilt, they feel anger, they feel hate. We need to really emphasize on positive ways of releasing these emotions. A lot of people don't do that. A lot of people want to bypass emotions. Spiritual healing is not ignoring mental health needs. It's not believing you must be happy all the time. Oh, believe me, I have been practicing Reiki healing and doing deep inner work for 40 years now. It is not a happy experience. You have to be willing to face the really dark side of things that happen to you in your lifetime. I am speaking from someone who has deep grief. I lost both of my parents before the age of 40. I lost my grandfather when I was 21 years old. I have lost 3 pets. But I am the type of person, I do not believe death is an ending. It's just that energy change in form. I believe that when somebody dies, when they cross over, that soul, that spirit is always with you. And it's actually a cleansing process that the soul goes through. Some of those souls come back and they're your spirit guides, especially if they're animals. Usually if it's an animal, they become your spirit guide, especially if it's one that you were really close to. If there is a person who, in their lifetime, you were really close to them, like my grandfather, for instance, I was extremely close to my grandfather. He understood me. He was always there for me, and he is one of my spiritual guides. Real soul healing often involves feeling things that you avoid over the years, like grief, anger, fear, loneliness. It's facing these things. And one thing I want to tell you is loneliness is usually lack of self-love and self-understanding. We are always surrounded by our guardians, our guides, our angels. And yes, I do believe in all that stuff. I definitely believe that there are angels, spirit guides. My grandfather is my guardian angel. My pet, Fred, he's another one of my angels. He's a guardian. Usually animals are guardians. They help guard you when you're in a fearful state. At least that's my feelings about it. Soul healing is about really being who you truly are. If you can remember yourself when you were a child, how innocent you were full of light and love, And I really, that sounds like a corny way to put it, but we were full of wonder, and we said things out of the blue because we didn't care what the consequences were. It isn't until people tell us not to say that or shame us that we stop speaking those things, and we hide it and we hold it inside. And soul healing is about realizing that, you know, you didn't have to do that. That you're allowed to have a voice in this world. And you really need to express it. Soul healing is so much more than just that, though. Many people move through stages. They're not always the same stages in line. Some people go through a spiritual awakening. Something feels off. Questions arise. People usually begin to think, who am I really? Why am I here? Is there more to life than this? This stage can feel confusing. Old beliefs begin to fall away. New possibilities emerge. You remember who you truly are, and you are one with God. God, I call it the God spark. Everyone has a piece of the Creator, God's source in them. And we were all each different expressions of that, and we all have to find our voice, our way of expressing who we truly are on a soul level. And that's not an easy thing to do. It took me 51 years to get to this point where I could talk about it. I have always loved spiritual stuff. My father was a hypnotist. He was very spiritual. He was a deacon at a church. Throughout my whole life, I have always been spiritually connected. I have seen ghosts. I have gone through Reiki and energy healing. I have studied many different religions over my lifetime. Being a spiritual person is being a very strong person when you're ready to start healing. Because some people come here not only to heal themselves, but to heal the collective, to heal their family, to heal their countries, to heal the world. It really depends on your soul and where you are in your phase of your soul. Because there are some people who have reincarnated here and they are ascended masters. And there are other people who, because of past life traumas and things like the witch's wound, which I will get into in a later time period about the witch's wound and what that really is and how to help heal that. But there's been trauma over lifetimes and over lifetime after lifetime. And many of us have had thousands of lifetimes here on Earth. Many of us have been here since Atlantis and Ameria. Some of us were here when the pyramids were actually being built. And all those lifetimes of trauma have brought us to the point where we have trouble dealing with things. And it's not until our soul is ready to face that and heal it. And heal your emotional body, your physical body, and your mental body. And I will definitely go into that even deeper. Part of soul healing is remembering who you are. You start reconnecting with the parts of yourself that you've forgotten. What brings you joy? What makes you feel meaningful? What resonates with truth to you? Really, for the past 30 years, one of my biggest things was I hope that everyone has a job that they can make a living at, that they're happy with. That was one of my big things. I've written a blog for over 30 years now, different blogs. My current blog, Writing Through the Soul, it's 7 years old. There's a lot of spiritual articles there. There's a lot of meditations there. It's all about what brings you joy. And a lot of people find it really difficult figuring out what does bring them joy, what makes them happy. What makes you you? I am a person who is Celtic. I am very fascinated with the Celtics and with England and Stonehenge and all the energy that's around Stonehenge in England. And deep within my soul, I know that I was there. I was a guardian of the portal that was there. I have always been fascinated ever since I was a little girl with Merlin and the Knights of the Round Table and what their true mission here on Earth was. They were protecting the portal of the Earth. But soul healing is bringing you back to that joy. What makes you excited? What gets you excited to live, to move, to be happy? What things bring you happiness and joy? That's a big part of soul healing. That's after you do all the healing and you realize, oh, it really, you have to go deep. You have to face your shadows. And that's not always easy. Because facing your shadows sometimes means not only are you facing your shadows, you're facing your family shadows. Sometimes you're facing your culture's shadows. And for instance, if you're were a witch or a practicing mystic at one point or another, you face the witch's wound. If you were a mystic in another lifetime, I don't care when, how, or if you were a spiritual teacher, you faced the witch's wound in one life or another. You were probably condemned for the things that you talked about and what you used. And that is a part of soul healing. It's facing that and dealing with it. And that's not always easy. I know some people who have, for years, just done throat chakra work because part of that wound is healing the throat chakra because you weren't heard or you were misunderstood. Or in some cases, the governments just wanted to get rid of you because you were going against what was being said and what they wanted to teach, their way of controlling people. That is a very deep wound, and at some point I am sure I'm really going to get into the witch's wound and do a lot of deep healing on that. Soul healing is going inward and healing. This is often the most challenging stage. Old wounds surface. When you're doing any kind of healing work, whether it's shadow, energy, emotions are going to rise. You have to feel those emotions and let them flow through you and release them. Whether you release them by screaming, by dancing around, movement, and energy, moving can really release a lot of trauma that's trapped in your body. Tapping is a way to release trauma from your body. These emotions always do rise, and sometimes it's really difficult when they do. Sometimes you don't understand where they come from, what caused them, but my best advice to anybody, if you're going through a healing process, if you're here feeling a deep emotion and you don't understand it, just feel it, let it go, journal, do automatic writing, and I'm really big on automatic writing. I realized at a very young age I did a lot of automatic writing. I used to write poetry. I still do write poetry, but a lot of my poetry was automatic writing, and I didn't even realize it because I started writing poetry when I was 5 years old. But I definitely, journaling is a really good thing for soul healing, and just it's getting it all out on paper. Tearing up paper is a good way to release anger, frustration, and stress. A lot of people don't realize that. Some people just like to scream. Any kind of physical exercise helps release that. My advice also, if you're soul healing, is to keep a journal and realize the patterns that surface as you're going through this. Because there are different stages, and things become more and more visible as you go through them. As you start healing, you go deeper and deeper. One thing that I have realized in practicing this for over 30 years is that, excuse me, a lot of people will have things surface that they don't realize what they are. Why am I so angry? And that's usually the beginning stages of the anger. It usually takes some time of healing that anger before you realize why you were so angry, where it all came from, where that buildup was. Sometimes you never realize it. Sometimes it just releases, because it could be a buildup from a bunch of different things. It really depends on how deep the wound is and how much needs to be healed. When you have a spiritual awakening, you usually begin by realizing that your fears, sometimes whether you want them to or not, drive your choices. We all grow up with our families, friends, teachers, people, adults in the community who say things to us, oh, you shouldn't say that, you shouldn't do this. Say things to us to quiet our voice. And yes, I am going to talk a lot about the voice because that is extremely important. The voice in the heart is my big thing. You begin to release stuff that no longer serves you. Your perspective of yourself changes. And sometimes it changes really big. For example, I came from a large family. And I am the youngest of 7 children. Growing up, my sisters, I have 6 sisters, and I have 5 sisters and 1 brother. 3 sisters and my brother are my stepdad from my dad's first marriage. The other 2 were from my mother. But when I was growing up, we all lived in one household, plus my one sister's son. With all of those people, you get all of that pain and that friction. And when you're the youngest and you're very spiritual, you end up absorbing all the negativity that goes in. When they're fighting without even realizing it. If you're an empath, that's what happens. Once you realize you're an empath, once you come to that realization, that awakening that you are an empath, you start releasing what is not yours. And when I first realized I was an empath and that I held everybody's energy because I'm also a healer, I realized half the stuff that I believed about myself was not true. These were notions that were given to me by classmates, by my family, by friends of my family, by my sisters, by my mother, my father. I had to release all of that. Sometimes releasing may be therapy. You may have to go to therapy to release the trauma that's happened to you, and there's nothing wrong with therapy. Therapy can be very helpful. Sometimes that's where a spiritual awakening starts, is in therapy. Because you start realizing, oh my God, I was repressing all these things that happened to me, and now I need to heal them. Meditation is a really great way to release and to heal. Journaling, and I am an energy healer, so I love my energy healing. I do Reiki and other energy healings and chakra healings, which is one of the things that we'll be doing. I also do prayers. There's a lot of inner child work. Really reconnecting to your inner child is extremely important. Your inner child is who you truly are. They're not grown up yet, but your inner child is who you truly are. What were your dreams? kind of things that you fantasize about when you were a young child? I know for me, I always wanted to be a writer. I always wanted to be a healer, a doctor. That was what I was into. As I got a little bit older, I really got into Jim Morrison, who was a poet, and he was also an independent filmmaker. A lot of people don't know that about Jim Morrison. But I got into wanting to make movies and write poetry when I was in my preteen years. All of that helped heal the stuff that I had gone through. One really important thing about soul healing is you have to be brutally honest with yourself. And that's not easy, especially when it comes to ourselves, to healing ourselves. We can forgive everybody else, but we have trouble forgiving ourselves. And we really need to learn how to do that more. And it's because of society and our families and just the way things are that we have a difficult time, because we believe that, everybody else comes first. And that's not true. A big lesson that I learned going through all of this was I used to have everybody else came first. I came last. It wasn't until my 26-year-old autistic son was placed in a home that I ended up finally putting myself first. Not because I wanted to, because I had to. I had a stroke, and the whole right side of my body went completely numb. And there was nobody to take care of me. I had to do everything myself. So guess what? I had to put myself first for once. And that was after a lifetime of my mother, my father, my sisters, my son, my nieces, my nephews, all coming first. It took me a very long time before I discovered that I needed to put myself first, and that there was nothing wrong with putting yourself first. Soul healing is also a lot about integration. It's not just about having a spiritual experience. Many people do have a lot of spiritual experiences, especially if you meditate on a regular basis. Or lucid dreaming. That was one of my big things, was lucid dreaming. I made a lot of spiritual progress through lucid dreaming. I did a lot of healing through lucid dreaming. Actually, I am a past life therapist, and I did a lot of lucid dreaming to heal past lives, which is sort of like a meditation where you're really but you're awake, but you realize you can almost see or hear the things that were going on in the other lives, and that's a really deep healing process. I don't know if I'm going to go into that in this channel or not, but one of the things is, though, when something difficult's going on, can you stay grounded? And a lot of people have difficulty grounding, and that is something that I'm definitely going to go deep into. I'm going to have several different meditations on grounding and staying grounded, because some people ground from their heart, some people ground from their third eye chakra, some people ground from their crown chakra, and I didn't realize that until about 15 years ago, that people ground in different ways. I always thought that grounding was, your bottom 3 chakras, and that's how you're supposed to ground. You're supposed to have this connection from your tailbone down to the center of Mother Earth, but that's not always what grounding is. There are a lot of different ways of grounding. You may have a person who helps you stay grounded. Sometimes just hearing this person's voice will ground you. And I was this person for my one sister who was very anxious. I worked alongside of her, and people that we worked with would tell me all the time, she calms down every time you talk to her. When she hears you, she just seems to calm down. For me, it was my grandfather. My grandfather always had that effect on me. Once my grandfather passed away, my husband, who is an earth sign, he grounds me. His voice will ground me. But his humor grounds me. But the thing is about grounding, you really shouldn't look outside yourself for what grounds you. You should find what grounds you inside yourself. And I'm going to say one more thing that helps me ground that's outside of myself. I am a huge dog lover. I have a miniature dachshund, Bella. You may hear her from time to time throughout these videos. If that happens, there's usually a reason for her barking, and it sometimes has meaning, sometimes it doesn't. She's a yappy dog. Dachshunds are. So I apologize ahead of time if you ever hear Frida yapping. Frida, any animal, though, is very grounding. Animals will literally absorb all your negative energy and then go walk it out. Every time they go for a walk, they release that energy. That's why walking barefoot, earthing as they call it, releases all that negative charge. Dogs do that instinctively. I use crystals to help me ground. My poetry and my writing is what personally helps me to stay grounded and get grounded. I use meditations. I do several different meditations. It is not always easy for a spiritual person to stay grounded and aligned. Really, a really important thing for a lot of people out there is loving yourself, even when you make a mistake. You know, they say you have to learn how to laugh at yourself. Well, everybody makes mistakes. So we need to learn how to laugh at ourselves and just let it roll off our shoulders. A lot of people have a hard time doing that, though. And it's usually because the way we were raised. If our mother was like that, if our father was like that, if they were really hard on themselves, then you probably are really hard on yourself. And it takes a lot of inner child work and inner healing, shadow work, whatever you want to call it, to heal that. When you heal and you integrate that, or you integrate energy from source, from Gaia, that is where the spiritual growth and wisdom come from. It comes from living our lives too, and just changing our perspectives on things. And as we age, we change our perspectives on things anyway. We see things differently. You can see things one way, and in less than a month see things totally a different way. Maybe somebody helps you open up to a different point of view. But integration is a big part of self-healing. There is a point where soul healing becomes less about fixing yourself, and you begin to realize that you are not a problem that needs to be solved. None of us are a problem that needs to be solved. We are all perfect the way we are. You stop chasing worthiness and validation. You stop caring what other people think of you. And there is a point, excuse me, there is a point in every spiritual healing journey, which is very difficult, no matter where you are. It's not an easy thing to do. And everybody who does it takes a great amount of courage to start any type of spiritual journey where you're healing. Whether it's just healing yourself, even energy healing. Just moving the energy, the negative energy out of your room. That takes courage, because you're doing something that you've never done before, that's changing. And yeah, it brings light and a clear room, clear energy into your life, into the lives of people that are around you. Comes a point in everybody's spiritual journey where they truly become aligned with who they truly are, who their soul truly is, and why they're here in the first place, and what they're meant to do. Their life purpose starts coming through. What does soul healing feel like? People often expect a dramatic experience. More often, soul healing feels surprisingly simple. It might feel like peace, feeling of gratitude, trusting yourself, trusting your intuition, crying and feeling lighter afterwards, feeling connected to nature. That's another way a lot of people ground is they connect with nature. Feeling connected to something that larger than yourself. A lot of people like that feeling that you're connected to something that's more than you. Right. There are many different practices that you can do for soul healing. Meditation. Meditation creates a space where you can hear your inner self. Some people do not meditate because they can't sit still long enough, or they try it and they fall asleep and it doesn't work. Some people meditate with their eyes open. For some people, meditation is not a sitting thing. Some people just cannot sit still. Some people, meditation is running and just clearing their minds. And that is what meditation is. It is clearing your mind of thought. So those hidden thoughts from the universe can come in. Excuse me. It's creating a space so you can hear your inner self and the universe come through. A lot of people do breath work, and breath work is very important. I think movement and breath work are extremely important in any type of spiritual healing. You have to be who you are. Movement releases energy from your body. And it releases energy from your whole aura. If you ever seen a wild animal that was ever being chased or attacked, they will shake their whole body after the experience. It is to release all that fear and anxiety that they felt. Soul healing is a lifelong journey. It's reconnecting with yourself, your true self. It's the awareness and compassion, the spiritual growth and inner transformation that comes along with it. And it is a lifelong journey. Sometimes it's several lifelong journeys. Sometimes, believe it or not, we go through this over and over again to completely heal. Yes, it is possible to heal in one lifetime. I do believe that we can heal in one lifetime. But it takes a lot of work. And that is one thing that soul healing does take. It takes a lot of work on your part. You have to want to heal. And there are light workers who take on more than just healing themselves. They take on healing the earth, healing the environment, healing certain ethnic groups, healing Gaia. There are a lot of light workers who end up doing that. And I thank you for watching this video. I ask that if you have any questions that you please leave them in the comment section. If there is something you wish me to discuss, please leave it in the comment section, and I will try my best to discuss what anybody's questions are. If you enjoyed this video, please follow, like, and subscribe to the channel. There will be more ahead. Thank you so much for watching. Many blessings.